Everyone, welcome to Drive Time with Mike, a time where you drive along with me and we discuss a little portion of the Bible during our community drive groups. Just want to welcome you. Today we're going to begin our study with Luke. I think you'll really enjoy that book as it's really all about Jesus. And I'm hoping that you'll enjoy it. Now today, you only need to read the first 4 verses, and that's it. Luke chapter 1, verses 1 through 4. That's all you have to read. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Luke and about Theophilus. That's the writer and the recipient of the book. And that's what we're going to talk about. Luke is a Gentile writer. In fact, he's the only known Gentile writer in the entire Bible. We don't know who wrote the book of Hebrews. People make speculations about it. We don't know who wrote it. So that's why we claim that Luke is the only known Gentile writer in the whole Bible. What's interesting about Luke being a Gentile writer is that he wrote more words in the New Testament than any other writer, including Paul. Now, Paul wrote more books, but word for word and verse for verse, Luke wrote more than anyone else in the New Testament. Now, isn't that interesting? It seems to me that that's like God giving his stamp of approval on all people when he allows a Gentile to be the one who writes the most in his book. I think that's pretty interesting. Now, Luke was a doctor, and oftentimes the personal physician and personal friend who accompanied Paul on his various trips, his various mission trips. He wrote the book of Luke and he wrote the book of Acts. Those are the ones he's responsible for. Now, to do this, according to the verses that you have just read, verses 1 through 4, Luke researched extensively everything that you will find in the book of Luke and in the book of Acts. He had to research it. He wasn't there. He didn't see any of this stuff as an eyewitness, so he felt like he needed to research it to find out what's going on. Now, since Luke was a doctor, back in those days, he would have been in the top 10% of the educated people in the world. Top 10%. Now, to me, that's very significant that he would have been in the top 10%, because what we discover oftentimes as modern day Christians is people think that someone who's highly educated should just kind of grow past the whole religious superstition of Christianity or something along those lines. At some point in time, modern day education tells you that religion is good or faith is good for weak-minded individuals, but not for people who are highly educated, not for people who are enlightened. Yet Luke would have been in the top 10% of the world's educated. That would be higher than just about any of us who are looking at this video. And yet he believed. Not only did he believe, but he did research, extensive research, to write the book of Luke and the book of Acts. Probably took him several years. So, when you think about Luke, something that might pop out to you is he sacrificed. As a doctor, he would have had money, but he could have been very busy, yet he sacrificed his time, his money, and he used his talents. And even us today in the church are benefiting from his sacrifice. Now, Theophilus is a particular person. Interesting enough, his name literally means lover of God. So this book, while it's written to a specific person named Theophilus, would have been also addressed to anybody who's a lover of God. If you love God, then this book was addressed to you as well. But there are 2 theories on who Theophilus is. The first one is this. You ever notice that the book of Acts ends with Paul in house prison? And it just kind of ends abruptly. There doesn't seem to be a real end to the story. That's because Luke is writing in real time, and Luke reaches the the modern day, whenever he was done writing. This is what's up. This is what's going on. The term most excellent was a term that was typically reserved for Roman officials, people who would have been in charge of other people. In this case, Theophilus might have been in charge of Paul's case. And so Luke is writing and giving a historical account as one who was an accompaniment of Paul, one who accompanied him on his mission trips, and is giving an account so that Theophilus might know of Paul's innocence on the charges that the Jews brought against him. The other idea is this. Sometimes, back in those days, when somebody did extensive research or did some sort of an extensive play or something like that, they would have a financial backer, and they would acknowledge that backer at the very beginning of the play or at the very beginning of the work that they were doing or something like that. And it's possible that Theophilus, because he was wealthy, most excellent Theophilus, was the financial backer, because he would have been highly educated, most likely too, and wealthy. And so he wants to know for sure that the things that he believes about Jesus Christ are real. And he might have partnered with Luke as the primary financial backer to pay for all of Luke's travels as he did all the research. Now, isn't that interesting? If number 2 is the case, then both of these men sacrificed something significant. They wanted more, and they got more because of their research, because of their investment in time, money, talents, that sort of thing. So I want to leave you with this as we close out our very first drive time with Mike. What can you invest? It may be a sacrifice, but what can you sacrifice? Who could benefit from something that you might be willing to invest or sacrifice? We're still benefiting from Luke's sacrifice and possibly Theophilus' sacrifice. What could people benefit from you if you were to get more? Thank you, family.